What's up YouTube? Welcome to PhD in Waves. In today's video, I'm gonna go over how to break forks. If you're a waver, everybody knows that nobody wants forks. We want flawless connections. And in today's video, I'm gonna break down how to break your forks. So let's get right into it. Alright, so if you don't know what a fork is basically when two rows of waves merge and they form into one, or when one wave splits and it turns into two waves. And it's basically like a crash or a collision in your wave pattern, and your waves don't really flow with each other. So in today's video, I'm gonna go over how to break forks, and I'm gonna give you guys some tips and some methods in order to break your forks. Before you break your forks, you have to understand that there are three kinds of forks. You have to identify what kind of fork you have, and you have to create a plan in order to break that type of fork. So right now I'm gonna go through the three types of forks, and I'm gonna give you some tips on how to break those forks. All right, so the first fork is a fork that has a bad angle. This is basically when your angles are off. So as you can see on my wave pattern right here, you can see that some of my waves are tilted at a different angle. They don't really flow gradually with each other. The reason this happens is because you have multiple angles at one area. So as for this section, I brush my waves here, I brush them here, and I brush them here. And what that does is it confuses your waves. Those are too many brush angles at one section. So like I said, I have one, it's overlapping this section. I have another one here, and then I brush this right here. And basically those are just too many overlapping sections, and it's causing my waves to get confused, and it doesn't necessarily know which way my hair wants to be trained. So if you want to break this type of fork, what I would recommend is vertical brush. So vertical brushing is gonna help you stop overlapping your wave angles. So what I would do is I would vertical brush here, I would vertical brush here, I would vertical brush here, just so those angles could stop overlapping. And once everything connects flawlessly, I could just go back to horizontal brushing. But since, my waves appear to be confused and they're going at a bunch of different angles, I do just want to focus on vertical brushing just to get more of a precise angle so I could break those forks. Also, another reason you might have forks is your wave angles don't flow with each other. Let's say you're brushing the top of your pattern like this, right? You would never brush the side of your hair down this way because you're causing your waves to crash. So if you're brushing your waves down this way and you're brushing the top like this, your waves are gonna crash into each other, and that's gonna create forks. What you wanna do is you wanna have brush angles that flow flawlessly into each other. You don't want harsh angles. Harsh angles are just gonna create more forks. So while you're brushing your waves, you want to figure out angles that flow nicely into each other. For example, for 360 waves, the top you would just brush down, slightly tilt your brush for the next brush angle. Slight angle this way, slightly turning it. Then for this side, just slight adjustments to your brush angles. You don't want to brush the top this way, then brush the side this way. That's just going to cause your waves to crash into each other. You want to make sure that each section of your waves are allowed to flow into each other flawlessly. So you want to make sure that you have good brush angles. The next kind of fork is an overstretched fork. It's basically when one part of your waves is stretched a little bit further than a section next to it. So let me show you at the back of my head. So as you can see on the back of my head, you can see that I have a couple forks. So right here on my wave pattern, it appears that my waves are a little bit more further stretched than this side. And the reason I know that is because you have to count your waves. So look, notice how this curves up. So I have one wave here, I have one wave here, and then things start to, I have a lot of forks. So look how this curves up. So what I have to do in order to break these forks is I have to stretch this part of my wave pattern down, because as you can see, like, this is curved upwards. This is creating a fork. If you have an overstretched fork, that just means that one part of your waves is stretched a little bit further, a little bit wider than a section right next to it. So if I want these sections to connect, I have to pull this section down so everything can line up flawlessly. So what I want to do is, this connects already, right? This right here, I have to connect it right here. I have to break that fork and connect it right here. And the same going all the way down my wave pattern. So what I would do to break that fork is, I just want to stretch, 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 stretch. Basically just brush and comb that section to pull it, and eventually these two sections are going to connect with each other. So I just want to stretch that out. So as you can see, this already connects, right? But it's a little bit stretched upward. I want to connect this section here, and then I want to connect this section here, and so on. So you want to think of your waves as a puzzle. So you just want to figure out, you want to count your waves, and then you just want to figure out, how do I connect these sections? Like, do I have to stretch them? Do I have to change my angles? You want to think of your waves as a puzzle, because they basically are puzzles. All right, so the third kind of fork is a irregular fork. This is basically when you have a weird looking curl and you can't really figure out where to fit it into your pattern. It's basically a curl that grows out of your scalp, and it's already messed up and it's already deformed. So there's no really real way to fix that kind of fork. The only way you could fix that fork is if you grow it out of your wave pattern. You just have to make sure it grows out to get rid of it. And sometimes we just have to grow out our wave pattern to get rid of forks. We can't necessarily break them. There's nothing that we could do. We just have to be patient and make sure that it grows out to get rid of it. In order to avoid an irregular fork or a deformed fork, you want to make sure that you're combing your wave pattern, and you want to make sure that you're using a hard brush. It's going to train every layer of your wave pattern to make sure that everything is trained as soon as it grows out of your scalp. You want to make sure that you're training every layer of your waves, so as soon as your hair grows, your hair is automatically trained, and you don't even really have to worry about breaking a fork. Those waves are already trained and they're already in line, and they're not going to have any forks. So you want to make sure you're combing, and you want to make sure you're using a hard brush in order to penetrate every layer of your wave pattern. All right, YouTube, I hope you guys learned something new about forks. Hopefully this video will help you break any forks that you might have. I'll definitely make a part 2, because breaking forks is a big topic. There's a lot to breaking forks and improving connections. So I definitely want to make more videos on this subject. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button right now. It really helps out the channel. Make sure to follow PhD and Waves on all social media platforms. I have a lot of content on Instagram and TikTok. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. What's up, wavers? Thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to head over to phdandwaves.com to grab your Durags, your brushes, and other wave products. As a special thanks for watching today's video, use discount code PHD10 to get 10% off your order. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.